Hey, welcome back to the podcast. So, I told you guys about 2 weeks ago, I would be recording an episode soon for you expanding on the concept of properly fueling yourself. At the time, I think I was talking about the Happier Hormones Roadmap, which is in episode 89, if you want to go back and take a listen to that. But you guys have probably heard me talk probably multiple times about how important it is for your hormone health overall to make sure that you are giving yourself, your body, enough fuel and enough nutrition, nutrients, micronutrients, and your macronutrients as well. But I don't think, covered on the podcast yet some tips and tricks and strategies for how you do that. Now, this is one of the things that I do walk through with nearly every one of my clients because it's foundational that we make sure that you are fueling your body enough. When our body does not get enough fuel, whether that be, we really have to take calories and nutrients into consideration here because I don't have to tell you guys that, 1,500 calories of straight Oreos is not the same as 1,500 calories of well balanced meals with whole foods and limiting processed things. Like, there's obviously, we have to take into consideration the nutrient content and the value that what we're choosing to consume brings, as well as just the flat number of calories in, calories out. That's why, we don't rely heavily on just straight calorie tracking when I work with clients. We are going to touch on calorie tracking today, but I'm going to talk you through, how you use that as a tool and not how you just blindly look at it as a math equation and you become dependent on it. So, again, I just want to really emphasize that when our body is not getting enough, it is in a state of stress, and our body doesn't know the difference between I am intentionally restricting myself and not eating enough on purpose versus I'm not eating enough because there's not enough food around. Now, that's not to say that you can't ever be in a calorie deficit. That's a topic for a different day. But the takeaway here is that we have to help our body to feel safe. Because when it feels unsafe for any reason, but specific to this episode, due to a lack of nutrition, whether it be intentional or unintentional, then our body has to prioritize us living, and things like producing and balancing our hormones or being fertile go by the wayside. So that's one of the reasons why this is where we start with clients. So, how do you get started? I first want you to take a really realistic reflection of what you eat in a normal day. And the way that you're going to do this is you're going to take 3 to 5 days where you do track your food. You can track it on paper. I do recommend putting it into an app of some sort because then it just like does the hard work for you at figuring out how many calories did I have? What did my protein look like? What did my carbs look like? What did my fiber look like? It's going to do all of that for you. One thing that I will say is, especially if you find that you can't like be objective throughout these 3 to 5 days, wait until the very end of each of those days to enter what you ate. That because what you don't want to do is you don't want to like log your breakfast and log your lunch and then look at it and be like, "Oh, whoa, I haven't hardly had any protein today. I'm going to eat a lot of protein at dinner to compensate." Or vice versa, you log breakfast and lunch and you look at the numbers and you're like, "Holy crap, I think this is way too many calories. I'm going to eat really skimpily for dinner." We want these 3 to 5 days of your tracking to be very, like, I can't think of the word. We don't want it to be interfered with or influenced by the fact that you're tracking. We want this to truly be a representation of what you were just kind of doing on autopilot before. Because then when you come to the end of that tracking period, and again, it's going to be different for everybody, 3 to 5 days. I want you to then go to the tdeecalculator.com website. And I want you to fill out their calculator. It's going to ask you some really basic questions. It's going to ask for if you're male or female, what your age is, how active you are, and it might ask for your current weight. I can't remember, and maybe your height. Then you're going to hit submit, and it's going to spit out at you a, a ballpark, and I want to emphasize it's a ballpark range of calories that you need for maintenance. One thing I like about this website is that it gives it to you in both a daily breakdown and a weekly breakdown. And it also goes ahead and breaks down what the difference would be at different activity levels. Because let's be honest, a lot of us might have weeks where we are really active, but then we might have a week where it's like, actually, I didn't hardly get any exercise that week. Or maybe you just like something with your work situation changed and you were pretty strapped to your desk that week and you didn't get up and move around a whole lot, but most weeks you get a lot more steps than you did this week. Like we're not controlled experiments. We're not controlled little calculators. This is another reason why it's not as simple as calories in versus calories out. There's all of these nuances to it. But I think it's really beneficial to just see that ballpark number of where your calories should be for maintenance. That is like what it would take for your body to like maintain where it's currently at, weight wise and just like functionality wise. When you are in a state of trying to heal your hormones, especially if you have symptoms already, then you do not want to be consuming less than this ballpark number. You want to be, right around that number. And again, it's another reason why I like the fact that it gives it to you in a daily amount and a weekly amount, because just like with our activity levels, our hunger cues and our just hunger day to day is going to differ a little bit. Some days we're a lot hungrier than we are other days. And I like that it kind of helps you account for that and still gives you, a direction to be headed towards. Now, I don't want you to think that, I'm saying all of this and you're going to have to turn around and start tracking all of your food. You guys probably already know I'm not big on tracking everything all of the time. I use this as a tool to check in every once in a while with my clients, with myself. I think it's really valuable. So once you've seen this ballpark number and you look back at those 3 to 5 days of tracking that you did, you kind of have to evaluate like, okay, where am I at? Am I way over? Am I pretty close to where I'm supposed to be? Am I way under? And then you're going to take yourself through an adjustment period. And this is something a lot of my clients that come to me and we go through this process, they find that they are unintentionally under eating. It's not that they were really like following a diet. They weren't trying to be restrictive, but they thought they were consuming enough and they actually weren't. So then we go through a period where we are what's called reverse dieting. And I can't get into all the complexities of that in a podcast episode. It's very individualized. It's very personalized. It's one of the things that we, work one-on-one with to ensure that you can go through the reverse dieting process without like suddenly increasing your calories by hundreds at a time and that leads to weight gain. Like we want to do it in a strategic approach so that, our goal is to help your body feel safe, not to add weight. So as you're kind of working yourself through that process, and, shameless plug, if you need help, if you go through this and you're like, whoa, I am really under fueling my body and you need help with that reverse dieting process, then reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. I would love to work with you. Book a hormone clarity call and let's chat about it. Okay, moving on. As you are working through that process, I want you to continue to track then for another, 3 to 5-ish days. And I want you to really focus on 2 key areas. I want you to make sure that you're getting between 25 to 30 grams of protein at each of your meals and that you consume 20 to 25 grams of fiber each day. I find that instead of having my clients really stress out about the calorie number and then all the macro numbers like protein, carbs, fat, fiber, I find that it's so much easier for them when I say, I want you to focus on getting enough protein and enough fiber. The other things take care of themselves. Like they tend to fall into place. Now, once you're past that step and you feel like you're still looking at those calorie numbers and you're seeing like, okay, am I pretty much within reason, where I need to be? Now you've done this tracking for a few days. Do you feel like you have a pretty good handle on how to get 25 to 30 grams of protein at each meal and how to get 20 to 25 grams of fiber in your day? Do you feel like you can do that without tracking? Once you get to that point that you're like, okay, I've been tracking, maybe I've been measuring, I'm watching portion sizes, I'm teaching myself what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. I'm teaching myself what 4 ounces of turkey looks like, whatever it might be. I'm teaching myself how much fiber is in a tablespoon of chia seeds. Like you're gonna start to memorize some of those things, even though you're not intentionally trying to memorize it, but you're just, as you go and you continue to track and you continue to do these things, you're learning. And once you get to the point where you're like, I have a pretty good grip on this, I think I can do this without the tracker, then stop tracking and go back to eating, like like a normal person who doesn't have to track, and then bring this back in a month or two later, maybe a little farther down the road, depending on where you're at, what your symptoms are, how you're feeling. But you can bring this back in at any time to use it as a tool to check in and see how you're doing and make sure that you are fueling yourself with enough of that, not just calories. Calories is a part of it, yes, but nutrition, that you're hitting enough fiber and enough protein. So I hope that this has been helpful. I know that this might be a challenge for some of you. A lot of us have been conditioned for a really long time that, especially as women, we need to be trying to lose weight. We need to not eat as much. And, all of that contributes to what in our minds we think is a healthy meal and like a healthy amount of food on our plate. And sometimes that leads to under eating unintentionally. So, um, if you, like I said in the middle of the episode, if this is something specifically that you feel like you need help with, absolutely book a Happy Hormones Clarity call. We can chat about it. Um, it's a component that, like I said, I take all of my clients through. So regardless of what you come to me for, if it's period problems, if it's PMS symptoms, if it's infertility issues, we're going to go through this process and we're going to get you to where you need to be. So that link rather is in the show notes to book a Happy Hormones Clarity call. Those are about 20 minutes. There's no cost for them. We will just have, a chat about what's going on with you. I will give you some suggestions, and if it makes sense, I will say, hey, this is how we could work together, and this is how I think I can help you. We'll talk budget, and then that'll be it. So that's all I have for you guys today. I will talk to you next week.